it's Rob here with a look behind the scenes. It's Badass Overtime, giving you a chance to listen in to Sven's conversation with his guests after the show.
Hey, Becker. Thanks for coming on. Let me ask you, what for you today was the biggest epiphany, biggest revelation or new insight?
Biggest revelation and insight would be that, as much as I'm trying to keep this stuff down, I need to let it out, and that Mom could have done a little bit more to help with it. That my anger's not geared all towards him. There's some of it geared towards her as well.
And Mom could have done a little bit more, to use your language, and I would offer she could have done a fuck ton more. But that's just my bias. Let me ask you, what is the biggest thing that Mom did not do? Put it in one sentence or less. What fundamentally did Mom not do?
Didn't step in to defend me when he would yell at me.
That's right. And the word we use for that is protect. She didn't protect you. She licked your wounds afterwards, and she whispered sweet nothings in your ear afterwards, and that felt good. But in the end, her first job is the job to protect the parent. And as you're seeing with your own children, it's the job to protect them emotionally, to protect their tender little souls so that they grow up loving themselves and saying, hey, the world's a good place. I like me, rather than the world's scary, the world is hurtful, and I hate me. And she didn't protect you. And there's going to be a lot of feelings in there on that. Just out of curiosity, other than the notion that you got to let it out and the notion that Mom didn't protect you, what was the biggest surprise today in this whole conversation?
The biggest surprise is that the anger that I've got towards my dad or towards my parents is what's spilling out of me, is what's causing me to get angry so quickly, is what's causing me to lack my patience that I used to have, and that it's from my childhood and from after my mom passed away and all of that is causing me to blow up so quickly and so frequently nowadays.
That's a bingo. And, after or in addition to, and you can do it in whatever order you want, but sort of as you're going into that childhood stuff, the other thing that you're going to need to go into is all the sadness at your mom, regarding your mom and her death and all the feelings of loneliness. We didn't even touch that. Yeah. But just go into all of it. And the more you start flushing, dude, you are going to see yourself change before your very eyes. And I'm not talking about in months. I'm talking about in weeks. It starts, if you have the balls to go into it, the brass balls, courage to go into it and finally and say, you know what, I'm fucking 38. It's time. I'm a fucking man. Yeah. And to go back there and to protect that little 8-year-old boy and say, I got you, kid. Nobody's going to hurt you ever again. I fucking got you. And write a letter. That's another letter I want you to write to that 8-year-old boy, that 6-year-old boy, and say, kid, I'm getting you. I'm going to protect you. Your old man's not going to hurt you ever again. Write him a letter. Tell that 8-year-old what he most needs to hear. Tell that 14-year-old what he most needs to hear. Write letters to those guys. Seriously. Give them the love that you wanted. And then final question. So you had your epiphany. Mom should have done more in protecting you. You got to let out all the mom and dad stuff. The surprise of your anger at mom and dad and that it's spilling out onto your family. So final question is this, and that is, so what are you feeling right now? Feeling words. You've been through the ringer today, so what are you feeling?
Feeling anxious.
And what's the source of the greatest anxiety for you?
Just getting the work done. Like the thought of how much it's going to be and how hard it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. And that makes you anxious because why? Because I don't want to do it? Because I'm
afraid.
Or what are you afraid of?
No, because I'm afraid I'm not going to go deep enough.
You'll go deep enough, okay? You will. All you got to do is bring the courage. And the more you start and say, and just start. It's just like going back to the gym. You just start. You start to see a little results, you do a little more. I would recommend using the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and do those questions because that will take you deep enough.
That's where I've started with my journaling is through the book. Good. I've got it. I take it in my car everywhere I go. So when I get a chance to read, I can read it.
And the most important part is the exercise, the journaling recommendations, and you got to get it in writing. And here's the final thought, and that is this, that the only thing that I want to change about your thinking in what you just said is, yes, it is going to be a lot. Yes, it is going to be scary. But here's the thing, Becker, it doesn't have to take a long time. It really doesn't. You can start to begin to feel relief literally in weeks or less if you just have the balls go deep enough. And the immense healing, the bulk of it, doesn't have to take years. Literally, it can be 6, 8, 9 months, and you'll start to feel it right away, soon, like in weeks. But if you have the courage to keep going deep, you can be healed of this in a short amount of time. I'm not talking about fucking years. You don't have to be in therapy for years. For the people who choose it, hey, fine, whatever. But I'm just saying, if you go deep enough, change can begin to be immediate. But it's just having the courage to do it. That's all. And I think you got it, Becker. I think you're going to do it. And I know you have the courage, because you wouldn't come on this fucking show if you didn't. And you did great. I want to thank you so much for coming on and bearing your soul. And to hear a man talk the way you do and open up that way, I just really respect you. And I really fucking applaud you do. I mean that. That was ballsy shit.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. You welcome your feelings and you own it. And, you weren't afraid to go down deep. And I respect the hell out of that.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm still in awe that I was picked and selected to be on, and couldn't have been a better experience. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Becker. And thank you for coming on Skol Vikings.
Yes.
That's it. Join us for new counseling episodes every Thursday and lightning rounds every Sunday.
Thanks for listening to Badass Overtime. Now go out and slay some demons and have a kick-ass day.